Kelly, welcome to your video breakdown, my friend. I'm super stoked to create this for you. So you let me know that your surfing goal at the moment is to become more fluid in your turns on the boards that you're riding in the 6'8 to 6'10 range. You want to progress to rail surfing, and you know that you should be putting weight on the tail, but sometimes putting weight on the tail is causing you to slow down or causing some instability at times. So that's what we're going to be going over in this video, is when the right time is to apply weight onto the tail and how applying weight to the tail at the wrong times can cause this instability. And so there's really two key principles that I want to offer you about doing turns on these kinds of boards and the kinds of waves that you're riding. The first principle is that the number one ingredient for a great turn is speed. You hear me say this over and over and over again. We need speed to execute good turns. It's a lot like riding a bicycle. If you are moving slow on a bike, it's very hard to change direction on that bike. But if you're going fast, you can really swerve that bike and change direction easily. So number one, we want to generate and maintain speed in order to do good turns. And so how do we do that? Well, on these kinds of boards, these mid-lengths in the 6'8 to 6'10 range, on these smaller waves, there's really two ways that we generate and maintain speed. And this is the second principle. The first one is where we're standing on our surfboard. The middle of the surfboard is where we can generate the most speed on these kinds of boards. If our weight is in the middle of the surfboard, we are in the proper position to maintain and generate speed on the board. The second is where we are on the wave. We want to be riding in the top half of the wave to generate speed. And we also want to be riding in the critical sections of the wave. That means in the pocket or in the parts of the wave that are steep. So if we're in the top half, in the steep parts of the wave, we're going to be able to generate speed. And if we're standing in the middle of our surfboard, or at least have our weight in the middle of the surfboard, we are going to generate speed. So let's watch Josie Prendergast here. She's riding a very similar board to the board that you are riding in your clips, and let's watch her execute these principles. I'll play the clip in slow motion here. And let's just watch where she's standing on her board and where she's surfing. So I'm gonna rewind this again. So here we can see her feet right in the middle of the board. It's not necessary to have such a narrow stance to put your feet in the middle of the board, but her weight is totally in the middle of the board. So she is standing on the right part of her board to generate speed. And then let's look at where she's surfing. She's in the pocket here, right under the breaking part of the wave, surfing up into the middle half of the wave here. And so in this position here, she's able to maintain speed, enough speed to execute a great cutback once she rides out of this pocket and onto the shoulder. So let's watch her do it again. She's riding out into the shoulder, aiming to where the wave's a little bit softer, and only then does she shuffle her feet back to change direction. So the middle of the surfboard is where we gain speed. The back of the surfboard or the tail is where we change direction. If we surf on the tail without the intention of changing direction, we end up slowing down. The tail is like a brake almost. And so we really only want to use the tail when we have the intention of changing direction. If we are trying to generate speed, it's best for us to completely get off the tail and use that middle of the surfboard to generate and maintain our speed. So we can watch her do this turn one more time. Very, very nice cutback in the middle of the board. Then she shifts her weight back when it's time to do the cutback. And so I want to take a look at your clips here and show this one, because this wave, you executed these two principles perfectly. And let's just go over how it went down on this wave and what you did very well. So I'm going to talk about this part right here. Okay, so the wave is steep and critical right here. This is a great area of the wave to generate speed. You're standing in the middle of the board. You have Great foot placement at this moment here, and you're also riding in the middle half of the wave here. This is perfect. This is exactly what you want to generate the proper speed to execute a great cutback right after. And so I'm going to play this a little bit slower. Right here, I like this stance. Like, it's not like Josie's stance where her feet are really narrow and right in the middle of the board. But you putting this knee forward and getting up on the ball of your foot there means that your weight's really over this front foot. Like, you can see your head's over your front foot. You have a lot of weight in the middle of the board. And again, you're just trimming right in this middle half of the wave. This is amazing. This is how you harness the speed necessary to do a proper turn. And so you ride through this critical section really, really well. And you end up aiming to start your turn out here on the shoulder where the wave is softer so that you have enough room to actually return to the pocket and execute this turn. And look, move your foot back right when you're ready to do the turn. And you put your weight on the tail, on that other rail, and you're able to change direction really well. This was super, super well done. Let's just play it one more time. Like, this was really, really nice. And play it in full speed here. Oof. Yep, you moved your foot back at the perfect time on this wave, Kelly. Really, really well done. And so let's just take a look at your other clips and see how we can execute these two principles like you did here on some of these other waves that you have. Okay, so let's take a look at this wave. So this is the point where I really want to point out what we could have done better. I'm going to slow this down here. So this is great here. You're riding in the white water. You're looking to get back up into that pocket where you can actually get into the top half of this wave. And you do. You ride right through the white water. You get up into the top half there. But right when you end up in the pocket in that speed generating area of the wave, your back foot comes back. And so what we could have done a little bit better on this wave is right when you get to this point, you should be looking to, number one, be in the middle of your board, have your weight in the middle of your board, and number two, be looking to surf in this top half of the wave here. And instead of going back on the tail at this moment, I would stay trimming in this top half of the wave until you get out onto the shoulder of the wave here, until you have sufficient room to actually change rails, change direction. Then you step on the tail and you can return to the pocket there. But I think on this wave we were just a little bit quick to get back on the tail and try to do a turn, when really this is the area of the wave where we can harness that speed to do a proper cutback out here on the shoulder. Let's take another look at a clip here. This wave, this guy might have messed you up a little bit, almost dropping in on you, but still think we can point an area for improvement here. So at this point here, we have some whitewash here. We can see that the wave is starting to shoulder out down here. Again, you're kind of right in the spot, that critical section of the wave, to be riding in this top half with your feet in the middle of the board so that you can come out to the shoulder here and execute that cutback. It's okay that this guy, put a little whitewash right in front of you there. I think we still could have ridden right there and been able to execute a cutback, stepping back on the tail out here on the shoulder. Like if we can see here, you start to step back on the tail as soon as you see this white water here. But yeah, it's all about staying in the middle of the board and staying in trim, staying in that top half of the wave. We call that trim, when you're riding in the middle of the wave there. We'll take a look at one more clip. I think this was a right here. So on this wave here, I think we started to think about doing a turn about right here. If we look at where we're at on the wave, we're a little far at the bottom. We could be a little bit higher up on the wave. And we also want to be coming out of this critical zone, out onto the shoulder to then step back on the tail and do our cutback. I think if we look at where our back foot's at right here, we're in the critical part of the wave and our foot's already back there on the tail. So just being a little bit more patient with using that tail, staying in the middle of the board through this critical zone and then executing that cutback out here once we arrive to the shoulder with all of that speed. So I hope you found this helpful, Kelly. I really enjoyed making this video for you. This is a super common problem that a lot of surfers experience when they start to learn how to do turns, is when do I actually step back on the tail? And so I hope this gave you some more clarity about when to actually go back onto the tail and execute that awesome cutback. So keep surfing and cheers.